Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode from the Lumia Learning Monday team. And this one is a special event for Women's Day 2025 with Veena Upadhyay. Veena, welcome. And I would love the team and everybody who's watching to get to know you and your work better. You are our recent uh, Bajaj Puraskar awardee, and congratulations for that as well. You have been working with the weavers of rural Bihar, and your journey from a city girl in brands and advertising and marketing to creating rural entrepreneurs is so beautiful, so inspiring, and that's what we want to unpack with you today.
Thank you, Deepa, and namaste to everybody. Um, so I'm ready to talk. Let's start.
You got married, and then until then you were in the city, right? And you'd never been to a
Yes.
village before.
No.
Then what
No.
happened? You landed up in rural Bihar.
Uh, I had a very senior position in an ad agency, a very famous ad agency, and this was in 1993. And there was no intent to get married. And my younger sister had got married before me, and so my mother remarked. She said, "Aren't you going to get married?" So they just left me alone because they realized that she doesn't want to marry. And then I was headhunted for this ad agency, and I got my position as an account director. And just after that, there was series of such incidents that I met my father-in-law to be, my parents-in-law to be, and my husband. And so there was this rishta that was sent, and my parents came over and got married. And my husband is an IPS officer, 1984 batch, and his cadre was Bihar. And Bihar always rattled me, before 1993. And I had never gone to the state, and I really never looked forward to it. But then, as fate would have it, we married in January 93. And so there I was in Bihar. And when I got married, when I was getting married, I suddenly realized that what would I do? Because I was in a very hyperactive corporate job, very hyperactive. And you're constantly traveling, national, international, and you're keeping late hours. And my husband was one of he was heading the bachelor's list in the IPS officers. He wasn't already married. He wasn't also married. So he was then, I think, 34 and a half. And so then I suddenly realized that he is a daredevil the way he is, and I have a very rushed job. How are the two going to meet? Because I was then posted in Ahmedabad, from Bangalore to Ahmedabad. So then I thought to myself, and I called up my parents, and my parents, I said, "What should I do?" So my parents said that we've given you enough sanskars. This decision is yours. And I sat and I thought, and then I told myself that I cannot row two boats together. Both are likely to capsize. So then I called up and I said, I'm going to give up my job. Now, my husband felt mighty guilty because I was riding a high crest. And he said, there's nothing for you. There's no corporate job. Because, of course, then you had the undivided Bihar, so Jharkhand, Jamshedpur was there. But there wasn't really anything for me to do. But I had determined that if I'm getting married now, I was going to be 28. And my time, people married when they were 18, 19, 20. So then I told myself that no, if I'm going to get married, then I must give myself to what I intend to do. So I got married, and then we had children, and I took a long sabbatical. So there were offers, but I realized that if I've decided to marry, then I must give this my best shot. And I realized that if I now move away, leave the children to be looked after by the staff in the house, my children would not be the right ones. I mean, that's not the way to bring them up. And but while we were there, my husband had a transferable job, so 6 months here, 8 months there, 1 year here. So wherever I went, I traveled with him. I started working with the wives of the battalion subordinate officers or the police lines. So, helping them to sign functional literacy, helping them to understand that it's important to be more hygienic, take care of your health. to do some embroidery, some stitching. So wherever I went, this was the kind of work that I loved to do with them. And at the same time, when my husband was posted in Dhanbad, we had, oh, when we were in Patna, my daughter was just 3.5 months old. So you have Patna Women's College, it's a very, now it's a deemed university. So sister invited me to be a guest faculty for their BA advertising sales promotion that they had just started. And she got to know about my background and she wanted me to be handling their department. So I started and I was so nervous, because my daughter was just 3 months old. I said, how on earth? And my son was then 2 years, 4 months old. So there's a year and 8 months that divides the two of them. So I told sister, I said, sister, I did not give up my corporate job. Now, when I have a little baby infant girl, 3 months old, that I'm going to get back with, she said, you can always bring a little child here. She can play with one of your staff members while you give a lecture inside. So that's what I started doing.
Wow.
And yes, so one lecture a day like that. So spaced it out. And then, of course, my husband got transferred to a very remote district called Palamu, which was like a Naxal belt. So then I gave this up and I went there. And then he got transferred to Dhanbad. Indian School of Mines had started the MBA classes. And the director there heard about my background and they invited me to be a guest faculty. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. So again, that was one class a day and 4 classes a week or something. So I could space it out, for my children. And my children both were in a very sweet school called Happy Child in Dhanbad. So they would go away for 4 hours, and that's the time that I would go and teach. And after that, when this is 2006, that I was approached by Bipad, and a senior IS officer was heading it, and he invited me. And then you had this overwhelming majority of women mukhyas. And so naturally, they wanted to develop a training module with a gender consultant. So I was invited to be a gender consultant, and I racked my brains. I said, I've never worked in a village. I don't know the psyche of a mukhya or a woman mukhya at that. How am I going to do it? So then this gentleman and his wife, Meera, they motivated me. They said, no, you just have the right capabilities. You just have the right mindset. You'll be able to do justice. So I was a consultant on that. And as fate would have it, that was funded by UNICEF. So when my role got finished there, when it was over, they invited me to partner with them and Sulabh International for Sabka Swachhata Abhiyan, Total Sanitation Campaign. Now, when I got this offer from UNICEF, I was like totally at sea. I said this would mean Vaishali was there, Vaishali district was their pilot district. So I was like totally at sea. I said, how am I going to? I don't understand. I have never built toilets. And how am I going to work? So uh, Mr. Dutt, who was the Bipad head, he called me to his office and he said, Veena, I know, just as you've done a wonderful job here, you would do this very well. I said, but this was a limited period and my children are still small. I'm not going to take up anything which is full time. And will I be able to do it in a village? He said, you have the ability to do it, just try. So, very gingerly, I asked my husband and I said, should I not? He said, this is your call. You have to take a call. I'm with you if in case you want to do it. And I'm sure you will be able to do it, but the call is yours. So then I said, fine. And I wrangled a part time, because I still didn't want to do a 9 to 6 job with anyone. So started there, but that involved a lot of rural visits. I did it. I wanted to be in the rural areas because if you're working there, you have to learn everything. If I'm trying to teach someone how to weave, then I must know something of weaving myself.
Correct.
So, right from learning how to build an individual household toilet, to dig a pit and to lay the bricks in honeycomb pattern, all of that I started learning. And then that was a beautiful time, because I think out of 7 days, 6 days, 5 days, I was in the village. So I used to visit. I had this Maruti van, and my children would be off to school. They would be back by 4:30. So that time, I would be in the village working with them. So once that got over, I wanted to be, they had a pilot project, so it was time bound. So when that got over, UNDP approached for some project. When that got over, I wanted to leave. So I met Dr. Pathak, late Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak, and I told him, I said, my work is over. And so we were funded by UNICEF, me and two more. So I said, those who are they were paid by UNICEF. Would you like to absorb them in Sulabh? He said, them, yes, but I'd like you to handle Naidisha. So I said, what is Naidisha? Then he explained. Naidisha was a center that they set up in Alwar, Rajasthan for erstwhile manual scavenger women. And these women were rehabilitated in a joint partnership with Bihar government and Sulabh. And they were not doing anything. So that started a very long journey. To cut a very long story short, I worked with the erstwhile manual scavenger women. And this is 2006. So, uh, no, this was 2009. So that's how I started working with them. And then functional literacy, opening their bank accounts, giving them livelihood skill, forming Srijani as a unit of Sulabh. And then I asked Dr. Patel for a 5-year grant. He said, do you think you'll be able to empower them? I said, yes, the prototypes of the learning period is this. So he was very happy and he decided to fund. So that's how Srijani happened. And when my 5-year period was getting over, I approached Tata Trust because I wanted to do the charkha, the Lakri charkha. And I wanted to revive this Baban Bhuti, which is a roughly 400-year-old heritage craft of South Central Bihar. So that's how Tata Trust approached. So even during sabbatical, this morning when I was thinking that I have this show with you, and I was reflecting and discussing it with my husband, there emerged a pattern, and I owe this to you because there is a very strong pattern in all that I did. I think right from working with the wives of the subordinate officers in the police, in the constabulary, to working in the rural areas, to working with erstwhile manual scavenger women, and imparting them, functional literacy and livelihood skills, to what I did at Srijani Foundation Bun.Kar Bihar. I think there was a pattern. But if you ask me what led you to do it, it wasn't by any design or any professional qualification, because I'm not qualified to do what I'm doing. I'm not a craft student. I haven't studied design. I haven't studied craft. I know very little about it. So I think it's been something which has been predetermined by someone up there. And sometimes when there are a whole lot of challenges, and I feel my shoulders are getting very heavy, and I'm unable to take the burden, I sit and talk to my God, and I ask her, "What is in it for you? Why am I doing this? Where the money is so less, I'm unable to pay salaries, I'm unable to do this." And it's like someone is telling me that this is something that you were supposed to do. So when I went to Jamal Hata, where we revived uniform weaving, and since 79 they had given up weaving, and the physically abled male members of the houses had started migration to Gulf countries. My mother, when she heard about it, my mother said, you must have been a weaver in your previous birth. There were certain dreams, there was some unfinished work that you had in your previous karmic cycle. So, because if you look at me, a literature student with a management background, with a thoroughbred, my friends would tease me that you have advertising and branding running in your veins. So my father was a government servant, just like my husband. So we don't know business, don't come from a business family at all. So, so if I look back, there was nothing in it, nothing that told me or that led me to think. If you had asked me this question in 1986, I wanted to be the president of Cadbury's. And that was my ambition. And I was an ambitious person. Yes. So when I was
I
working,
am. I think you should qualify. I am an ambitious
I,
person.
I
Now
don't know
you're
whether
ambitious. Now you're ambitious for your artisans, for the
yes,
effort you take behind quality. You're so ambitious about quality, Veena.
yes. That's what I keep telling myself. I think I just pushing the walls. Sometimes it just gets very difficult. But then I always tell everybody, you go to a shop and you want to buy a piece of handkerchief or a sari for yourself, would you not even a smallest tear or a smallest thread that's come out, you would say, nahi, ye sari theek nahi hai. So when you have to buy yourself, you're so fussy about what you're buying as a finished product. And that's similarly, you have to finish it to the best of your ability to then present it to someone else, right? So quality is of supreme importance. Design is, but quality is too. So I think it's just been a very it's sometimes I feel that it's like I'm like a piece of clay that someone up there is molding me to to do whatever has
or
happened
suit
in the journey.
that is being woven into a beautiful pattern. Life as Bavan Booty,
Yeah.
52 weeks of the year.
Yeah. Yes, 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 yes.
So,
You know,
how did you tackle this journey from not knowing to knowing? So, not knowing how to make a toilet to working on toilet implementation, not knowing how to educate or make women empowered or give them that sense of confidence to becoming very skilled, adept, and gaining the trust of the community. So, that period for you, Veena, from not knowing to knowing, are you fearful? Uh, are you thrilled with the challenge of moving from not knowing to knowing? What's your mind state? Not knowing weaving to learning weaving, not knowing design to learning craft and design.
look, I have loved everything and every bit that I've been doing. And I think it's like my sisters, my family, my children, my husband tell me that she's some Junooni person. And I think it's some Junoon, it's that passion that drives you. Yes, I tend to worry a lot. But I'm telling you, I don't know, um, it's a little difficult to believe, but everything just happened, Deepa. Even my learning happened. For example, when Dr. Pathak asked me to take care of Sulabh Bihar, this is 2008, and I was so scared because Sulabh Bihar also means they have community toilets. Then toilet, building, construction of toilets, and there's so much that Sulabh used to do under him, and even now, I suddenly realized that I know nothing. So I told him that I'm not an engineer and I know nothing of this. So he said, but you have all the administrative abilities that is required. He said, neither am I. And he said, you have all the abilities and the passion to make things happen. And even when I'll tell you when I went to Jamal Hatha, this village where we revived weaving for Delhi public schools, uh, my daughter was in class 12 and DPS Patna had just started with every Friday, a handloom dress. And she was in 12th, so she was wearing a salwar kameez. So I looked at, the owner of Takshila Foundation who had invited me to work in the villages. I asked him, I said, can you give me one day's order? So he said, but there's nothing here, there are no looms. It used to be once upon a time a thriving village industry, but now there isn't. But as I said, I felt rooted there, Deepa. It's indefinable what I felt. And I just felt I need to be here. And I didn't want to move away, though I had women waiting at the venue that I was supposed to be at. But I just didn't want to leave. And later he became a good friend. He said, okay, one day work, one day order for DPS Patna. I knew not even 1% of weaving. Nothing I knew. I just knew that this has to be done. I need to do it. So I think it was an inner call.
Hmm.
right? So if a weaver had challenged me or asked me, I would have just told him, thrown up my hands कि आपसे मुझे सीखना है, but मुझे ये करना है. And every 10 days, I would be there for 2, 3 days. So women were used to be in Parda. They still are. So I would, have the women meetings separately in a room. So from 13th January 2013 to 4th of May, 24th of April 2014, it took me that much time for the first weaver, Riaz Bhai, and Riaz Bhai to come forward and tell me, मैं आपके साथ काम करूंगी. Because I would just go sit, talk to them, talk to everybody to understand how it was earlier. So I was told that, earlier they also grew their cotton, they would hand spin, the Gandhi times, and they would make their own chaddas, etc. So from that time, when we started weaving school uniforms, let me tell you what happened. Now those uniforms, the uniform fabric was getting woven, and then it was getting stitched at an ex business enterprise which handles this. Suddenly, those were rejected because the weavers were not weaving it carefully, and the fabric was weak, so it was unable to take the stitching. Because when you wear a shirt, there is a little tension on where you cut the sleeves and you do it. And then I racked my brains, how do I do it? What do I do it? And then I happened to meet Mr. Kurma Rao, who is a legend in weaving, and he was a faculty with NID and also IICD Jaipur. So one of the students of IICD Jaipur was doing her internship with us at Srijani. I asked her, would he come? So she said he doesn't really keep too well, and I wonder if he'll travel to Bihar. But here is his mail ID. I wrote to him and promptly he replied. He said, Veena, I'm willing to travel. He came, he saw, he explained, he made me learn. And then I didn't look back. He told me it's the weaver who has all the answers. You don't have to call me because he's the master of his craft. And then I started sitting and learning, observing, understanding. Today, if you ask me, I can weave a plain fabric. But yes, if you ask me to do Baban Booty, I may not be able to do it. So that's where I learned. And I remembered that my marketing professor had told me when we were passing out that you want to be in brand management, but remember, you will be the mother of your brand. So when you have to be the mother of your brand, you should know how it's produced. You will never be able to price it if you don't know how it's produced. You'll never be able to sell it, market it, brand it, advertise it if you don't know the finer aspects or everything that goes into it. So that lesson I learned and that I kept alive with me. And throughout all of this, I think it's been this brilliant support of my husband.
Hmm.
I mean, had Abhay not been there, as somebody who believes in my work and me, I wouldn't have been able to do. My children, Avi and Anna, if they hadn't really cooperated, if they hadn't really stood by me, I wouldn't have been able to do it.
So
It's
it
a lot
really
of them.
takes a village. It takes a village to
Yeah.
for a woman to
Yeah.
work and
Yes.
to sort of do the kind of things that you've been able to do, not just for yourself, but really for the community. Yeah, you've done
Even
it
in
for
Sulabh,
yourself.
yeah, even in Sulabh, where it was about construction of toilets, so I went to this mason. He was constructing a toilet, a sample toilet in the office, within the office premises. So I told him, when you start, then I want to be there. So he felt embarrassed. He said, why do you want to be here? I'm there to do it for you. I said, but I have to learn how you do it. So I even went inside the pit and I understood and I told him I'll also lay that because when you are working on something, you need to know. You need to understand what you're doing. So that's how I've learned. I've learned from everybody. So right
Veena,
from a yeah.
would you, when I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, and I'm sort of trying to put together what I'm hearing. One is, I think, a tremendous courage, fearlessness to jump and take an opportunity. Second, to put yourself out there without worry of rejection, to approach someone. So that's also the marketeer in you who will who is marketing your idea of why, or making a compelling argument on why somebody has to support you, whether it's the Tata Trust or whether it's, and vice versa. So if someone reaches out, you're saying, let me not hold back. Let me give my 100%. And then it's almost as if the universe gives you a 400% return.
Yes. When I approached the trust, I told them that I'm quite, I'm not a finance person. So for me, to put all that data together, etc., it's really difficult. And that was one of my first meetings. Somebody told me, "Why did you have to go and say this?" I said, "Why not? Because that is what I am." And so when I met them, then I remember someone asking me that, "Do you think they're going to? They don't know you, and there isn't any project in Bihar that's being funded by Tata Trust." I said, "I've done my bit." So when they called to say that they are coming for a recce to come and understand, there were some mistakes that had happened in my office then. So someone told me, "Why don't you just cover up that mistake? They won't even get to know about it." I said, "No, I'm but human." So when someone is proposing or planning to give some funds for something that I wish to do, they should know that I'm also human, that I've made a mistake and I understand a mistake and I've made corrective measures. I've taken corrective measures. So it's that gap that was filled up. I shared it with them because that is what I am. I mean, I'm not perfect, but to be able to do something, I remember the US market in the US during COVID. Um, we had about 11 exhibitions that were cancelled. So we were like one among so many who thought that, what are they going to do with the stocks? And we had about 385 saris with us. And so I was one day really very upset and I was thinking what to do. Suddenly, one of my customers sends a text message, "How are you doing?" So prompt when my chat message that I'm in a bad space. So what happened? I said, "This is what happened." She said, "Just call up Savita Suri. She'll help you." I said, "She doesn't know me from Adams. I don't know her." I said, "Who is she?" She said, "Well, she heads Unwear, crafting narratives. Just talk to her." So I sent her a message. Savita promptly called me back. She said, "Just put all your saris with the rates in Google Drive and send it to me." So I sat that night and I sent it to her, and the rest is history. So I owe so much to Anbaya because you see, 2018 October, the brand was born. 2019 is what we had, 2020, we were all shut, right? And this is in 2020, June or July, that Savita said, "Send your stuff to us." So I think it's so many who have just come in, and I I think it's, as you said, the universe helps you. But it's been so many. I owe so much to that customer Meenu Iyer and to Savita. For otherwise we would have been gone totally with that kind of a baggage of so many saris with nothing, no place to sell. And we were a nobody. Nobody knew me. Because you see, you have to be from a certain batch for people to know you, to be able to interact with you, to help you out. But who knew Bunkar Bihar? No one knew Veena Upadhyay. Nobody knew Bunkar Bihar. But Anvaya helped. So
So
that's
we
how.
are, yeah, so and we are so privileged to take your story of, this, and may this just be the beginning of more people discovering the fact that you have created entrepreneurs at the grassroots, people who today have revived this dying art which was 400 years old, the craft, and
Yes.
today you're given them this gift back which was theirs, so to say, to create their own legacy going forward. So what a journey, what a fascinating journey for all of us listening. I was talking to Veena Upadhyay, and as someone who discovered and came across her story and felt that more people need to know, meet, and listen to the beautiful warp and weft of her life, which is what Bavan Bhuti of, the craft is called Bavan Bhuti, the weaving is, but all of the story, if we see, and all of our lives are like that. We don't see the pattern to begin with. Maybe we don't have an end state vision, but where you've taken the next step, and that's what Veena trusted. She trusted that where she could put her next step. She relied on her family. She's been grateful. She's been humble. She was able to connect with the grassroots and bring her gift of marketing and what she had studied from her past life as a city girl into her work, and everything is coming into place at this stage. And I hope, and I wish uh, all of us can take a leaf from Veena's book this Women's Day, and may you keep on inspiring all of us, Veena.
Thank you so much. So eternally grateful to you. Uh, Deeply humbled and just so grateful, Deepa. I don't know how to thank all of you at Lumiere, Eric, Vanessa, and you and everybody. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
giving us this platform.
And thank you, Abhay, for being such a role model, a
Yeah.
spouse, and your children, all of the partners and the associates that have worked with you,
Yes. Yes.
and may you have all of the support that you seek, Veena. This is maybe the
Thank
first conversation, but I don't think it's going to be our last. So I look forward to meeting you in Mumbai, in Bihar,
you.
and
Yes.
folks. Uh, Keep following, keep looking at what Veena is doing, and that beautiful sari that she's wearing and the fabric
Oh,
behind her. I think if all of us decide to do a little bit of khadi in our everyday, I think, Veena, that's your message, which I'd like you to close by telling
yes.
us your message.
Yes. Do you want me to say something on this?
Yes, just that one thing
Uh,
which I had
okay.
forgotten.
I think if each one of us um, decide to buy one dress, one sari, which is handloom, out of every 10 saris or 10 dresses that one buys in a year, I don't think we'll need people like me or anyone else in the sector, because imagine the kind of work all the weavers would have across the country. If all our soft furnishings, at least one set of our soft furnishings come from the loom, from handloom, imagine the kind of work all the weavers would have. All that we will then need to help them with is design and placements and trends. And I think a lot of us now are helping them with it. So do buy something which is hand woven, handmade, and let's be a part of this beautiful, very enriching cultural heritage, craft heritage that all of us are blessed with. And thank you so much for giving us this platform. Thank you so much, Deepa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And happy Women's Day to all.
Yes, happy Women's Day and a great year for everybody.
All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.